Good morning, ladies. My name is Jessica, and I have been praying and just asking the Lord for a word of encouragement for you guys. And I felt like the Lord has highlighted prayer and just wanted me to bring a word of encouragement with it. First, I want to thank Suzanne for putting together this Women's March thing. It's been so encouraging to get a fresh word every day. It's amazing what happens when women come together and they rally together. And so, yeah, it's just been such an encouragement. I have some notes here, so if you see me look down a little bit, that's why. I'm not very good on the video, so I felt like maybe if I made notes, it would make it easier. So with prayer, prayer is one of the most powerful ways to establish a meaningful relationship with the Lord. I feel like it's a place where you can see the Lord move in a lot of ways in your life and the lives around you. I have experienced the Lord move in so many ways in prayer in my life. I have a restored marriage after divorce. I have children that have come to know the Lord. I've just seen the Lord move in mighty ways in people's lives around me when you pray for people. Also, I feel like prayer is so much more than just words or speaking in a time of need. Prayer is a weapon of warfare. It's also a place of thanksgiving. It's a place of heart posturing. Establishing a relationship with the Lord means that you're taking the time to communicate and to allow Him to speak to you and to direct you in a place. It's also a place of insight and letting go. I feel like it's important to remember that I feel like sometimes we can get into a place of prayer, or at least with me, where you're praying and you can almost feel like you're burdening the Lord. But I just feel like the Lord wants you to know you're never burdening Him. Like He loves your willingness and your desires to come before Him, and He is always there waiting and ready to provide guidance or comfort, whatever it is you may need. He's faithful to meet us in those places. So also I feel like even when you're praying, if things aren't answered the way that we necessarily prayed, I feel like God has a plan. He has a plan, and His ways are better than ours, and His thoughts are higher than ours. And so His plans always have purpose and glory behind them. And so I just want to encourage you, if you have prayed in certain times in your life and things just didn't work out the way you prayed, that there's a reason and there's a purpose in all things. And so God sees things that we don't see, but He's faithful. Also, the scripture reference that the Lord gave me was, I'm going to read it really quickly. It's Philippians 4:6-9. This is the Message version. It says, "Don't fret or worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ places worry at the center of your life. Summoning it all up, friends. I'd say you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things that are true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly. Things to praise, not to curse. Put into practice what you've learned from me, what you've heard, what you've saw, what you've realized. Do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work it into the most excellent harmonies." My experience in prayer and life has just been so good. It's such a time of, I start out my prayers with thanksgiving. I feel like in that time, it really postures and aligns my heart in a place of keeping God in his rightful place in my heart, and just keep me in a place of gratitude in all things and at all times. I have a little testimony of prayer. I have so many testimonies of prayer in my life, but one that really speaks to me. So before my divorce, I was married for 10 years prior to divorce, and my husband prayed for me every single day. For 10 years, daily, he prayed for me, and I didn't really have a relationship with the Lord during that time. And so then after 10 years, he fell to the enemy's lies about things just never changing, and I was always going to be that way. And so he walked away, and we got divorced. And when he walked away, the Lord got a hold of me and really encountered and invaded my heart and my mind with his truth and his ways and his purposes. And so the Lord called me to start praying and interceding for Dustin and our marriage and our family. And because God sees things so much bigger, and because he's so faithful and he uses everything, my husband gave his heart back to the Lord 3 years after divorce. He walked away from the Lord when he walked away from the marriage and our family. And the Lord really showed me and gave me a lot of insight into all those years that Dustin was praying for me and our marriage. He in his mind, he thought, it would probably look a lot different. And the outcome wouldn't have been divorce at that time, but God saw a bigger picture. And the prayers that my husband prayed for me for all those years were never in vain. In fact, God used those prayers to partner with him and to partner with me in that season of divorce, to pray and intercede for Dustin's personal restoration back to the Lord. So I know he couldn't even imagine thinking that when he was praying for me, that God was going to use those prayers for his own personal restoration back to Jesus. Like, it's crazy to think of it, but there is so much power in prayer, guys. There is so much intimacy in prayer that God has for you. It's such a sweet relationship. It's a communication between you and him, and he meets you in those places, and it's such a place of intimacy. So I have grown so much in my walk with the Lord by just being diligent in prayer, even if I'm in a place of I'm angry with the Lord or whatever the case may be. God would rather you speak to him even if you're angry than just not speak to him at all. And he's faithful to give us what we need when we need it. And so I just wanted to encourage you ladies today in your prayer lives. Like, there is so much there. There's so much power, and there's so much power as us as wives and moms and friends for intercession in it. Man, I have testimony after testimony of during that time of divorce and how I would pray for Dustin in different situations and my children in different situations and journal it down. And then now that we've been restored and remarried and we've talked about things, he would say things and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I remember journaling that. I remember praying specifically that God would do this or God would do that. And so the Lord answers prayers. He answers prayers. Even if it's not how we would have thought it had been answered, it's always better. So I just want to encourage you ladies today to really dig into your prayer lives and know that God has something so good in it for you. And he loves it. He delights in meeting you there in that sweet, intimate place with him so that you can know him in ways you would have never known him. So yeah, I hope that encourages you guys today to dig into your prayer life and be intentional with it. And I believe that he will be intentional with you in those places. Y'all have a blessed week.